Hello, everyone. Welcome to All In on Real Estate. I'm your host, Aaron Goins. I started this real estate meeting because when I was in the military, no one in my circles talked about real estate. A lot of times talking about other things and welcome, nothing about real estate. And I want to start a meeting where we can talk about real estate and help people build generational wealth for them and their families. So I'm really, really excited for my guest speaker today. How you doing, Miss Shonika? Good to see you on here. Welcome to the meetup. I cannot wait to dig in this story, as I know the story, but I want everybody else to know the story because it's a great story to tell that you have. So I'm going to ask you the first question I ask everybody else. Mm-hmm. How did you get started in real estate?
Well, I got started in real estate. It actually had a slightly sad start. My mom was diagnosed on Mother's Day in 2019. She had a blood infection, and they told her on that day that her life could not be prolonged, and they didn't know how much time she had to live. So she's in the DC area, and I lived in Colorado. So I flew to DC to be with her, and I stayed with her 24/7 in the ICU. And 9 days after her diagnosis, she passed away in ICU. But right before she passed away, she suggested that my brother and I should start a family business together. And she was kind of passing the reins because we're the oldest. Well, my brother's not my blood brother. She raised him from when he was a baby for like 10 years. So we didn't really keep in touch throughout the years, when he was a young adult. So it was awkward at first, I would say. But the first time we reconnected and just started, we said, well, what she said is ordained. She's from South Carolina, so she's very strong rooted in her faith. And we always say she had a lot of downloads from God, and she just have amazing ability to see something that like we couldn't piece together. So when she passed 3 weeks later, we decided we're going to go incorporate a business in her namesake to pass on her legacy, but we didn't know what kind of business that we would start. So we started with drop shipping just because it was convenient, but that was in the fall of 2019. And in the spring of 2020, the pandemic came, and the vendor that we were sourcing the products from, they said their main clients were retail stores. So basically they shut down our store with no notice because, they weren't moving any product. So my brother and I decided, instead of starting another business from scratch, we would actually decide what it is that we really want to do. So we kind of shortlisted our ideas, and the end goal for both of us was real estate. So we decided to do real estate investing. And so that's the business that we ended up coming up with together. So that's how I got started.
So what was your early beginnings with it when you first got started, you and your brother first got started?
We're high risk takers. We both have individually built 7-figure businesses from the ground up. So we kind of were being know-it-alls at the beginning. We watched some wholesaling videos and we're like, oh, we could do that. Marketing, get some leads. So we didn't even purchase a course. We just started marketing ads on Facebook. I think we dumped 2,500, $3,000 a month. Got a bunch of leads, didn't know what to do with it. And they're like, okay, maybe we need to back up and think about this a little bit more. So we dumped around, I don't know, 15 grand, I want to say, into different kinds of courses. So we started that business September 2020, ran the ads in Facebook for about 6 weeks. Then we just purchased a bunch of courses. So fire damage course, creative deals course, mobile home investing, some other stuff. We basically wanted to see different strategies of how you can get into a deal and exit a deal with creative options or not. And so My brother, he also owns a general contracting company out of DC. He's very busy with that. So I took all the courses, and from October 2020 to December 2020, I 1.5x watched them just so I could understand the concept of how different strategies work. And then I said, oh, I think we could do wholesaling. So in January 2021, I say, I'm going to start wholesaling this month. Got a dialer, a VA to help pull the lists and skip trace it, and just start making calls. So did that for, I don't know, every week, 6 months, and then got my first wholesale deal for $1,500. And like, that's not going to work because we're putting out $3,500, $4,500 a month in overhead for the list, the skip tracing. So we decided to back up, revisit what might be a better option for use of our time, for our personality type, etc. My brother said we should look into multifamily. He joined a mastermind group, and I said, I don't want to do that because I feel like we already put a bunch of money into courses, and I don't want to start over. I kind of want to make something work. And then after 30 days in the group, he tells me, hey, did you hear of this something called syndication? I said, no. So he said, I'm going to buy us a course. I need you to look at it. I get the course, I want to say like July 25th or something. 4 days, watch the course, 1.5x. I see like, okay, I know how to structure a deal, a team generally. So I get into the mastermind group with him. And then 31 days later, we have found, raised capital, close our first deal, which is a mobile home park for one other partner. So then I was hooked after that. It's like, okay, I got this. I like the business model. I like the scalability of this. I can understand deal structure. And I like that this is something I can build true generational wealth with. So then that was it. Got after it.
So you wholesale for 6 months and got one deal, but then you did syndication for 30 days and got a deal.
31 days.
31 days. I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry about that. 31 days. I'm mistaken right there. Okay. So what was some of your first pain points? I can understand wholesaling and you waited for the deal, but what was some of your pain points when you first started syndication with that first deal?
Funny thing, I didn't have pain points because I was moving so fast because someone else bought the deal, and it's like, hey, you have 24 hours to decide, figure out the underwriting, do the numbers work? Is the deal, you're already going to have $40,000, $50,000 equity going into the deal. So when they say, the universe likes speed, that's kind of the concept. When you're going fast, you don't really have time to have analysis paralysis, overthink things. So I asked the guy, I know the concept of what underwriting means. I don't know how to underwrite. I don't know how to capital raise at this point. I do have direct sales background, and I didn't know how the deal is sourced. So my brother, he underwrites because he's a construction guy. So he does estimates. So he reviewed the numbers. Okay, I get the concept. This is how we make money. This is when it cash flows. This is how much we make. It's a deal. 24 hours later, we tell the other guy who brings us the deal, we're in. So then I said, what do I need to do? He was a bit introverted. My brother's busy. So he said, we need to raise capital. What does that mean? Go ask rich people for money and try and see if someone will put money into the deal. Why would they do that? Because of the returns they can make, he said, and because the deal is collateralized by the property. So he gave me my little 30-second elevator pitch. I just go into my phone. I don't have a list. So I just go into my phone. I think of business owners in my phone, and I start calling them and saying, can you invest in a mobile home park? And they're like, girl, did you just start this company like 2 weeks ago doing this? How are you trying to already buy a mobile home park? So they didn't buy from me. I just called, I don't know, I was calling like 20 people a day or something. and on pitches from in the morning to at night. I did it for like 4 days. And the guy who brought me the deal says, listen, I know the numbers. So if someone is interested in the deal, just get me on the phone and I'll walk through them with the numbers and all the details. Fine. So I'm just basically trying to find a person to say, I'll listen to your pitch. I actually went through my whole list, had one person commit, but he was saying he want like 20 or 30% returns. And I'm like, you're a shark. No, I'll get back to you on that. Go to the next. Went through the whole list, didn't find anybody, started calling the list again. But this time I asked, okay, you don't have to go on my deal, but do you know someone in your network who invests in real estate or has invested in real estate or interested in investing in real estate? And then I started getting referrals and then calling the whole new list. So in the second week of my calls is when I found my first person who committed to bring the capital for the deal. I think we needed like 90K or something in total. So I found the first person that was one check writer, but he was in South America. So he had to talk to his lawyer accountant, like how to get the monies here. So I was just like, well, it's first come, first serve. Found the second person the next week. Money was wired, I think, in 48, 72 hours after we spoke. So that was around 15th of the month or something in August, because we found the deal August 2nd. I called for 2 weeks. Around August 15th, got the money transferred. Our partner, who was in Virginia, actually Southern Virginia, said, all right, it's in this small town. Title company said we can close in 5 days. What? Like, we don't have to fly there or anything. It's all going to be done electronically. Is this a scam? Does this really work? Never met the guy, never saw the property. I don't know, does this really work? And then on Friday, the date came where we were supposed to close. They send us the DocuSign agreement, say we need your social security number to set up all this, blah, blah, blah. We got the LLC set up, our names, you know, all the legal documents. And we sent a picture of the front and back of our ID. And then the spring, we get a K1 with our taxes. So, okay, it's legit. You got people paying. And then in December, so we closed in August. And in December, we got a commercial loan for it. So that was pretty cool. Got my first commercial loan. It happened just like that. And it was real. So I was kind of obsessed with it after that.
So after this, what was next after that? What was the next phase, next deal, or what did you do afterwards?
I started calling everybody in the Facebook and the LinkedIn, people I don't even know. I was just not afraid anymore. I just started hitting up every kind of investor to like partner on a deal. I got invited to another deal, which I'm actually still working on now. It was for land in Knoxville, a new development, $90 million all in, and then I don't know, 130 million or something stabilized. But it was way out of our wheelhouse, so we just decided to assign that in the end. But yeah, that was the next deal I went in. But in the spring of this year, I discover my superpower is capital raising. But in a syndication, it's not legal, you know, to do capital raising only. So just did some research through my network and found out I need to start a private equity fund. Well, the interesting thing, I read this statistic, out of $69 trillion in hedge funds and private equity funds, less than 3% goes to women, small business owners, and 0.3% go to like women in real estate, women and minorities in real estate. I was like, that's crazy. But then I started thinking about there actually isn't a lot of women I see in the syndication space. So maybe they're not even going for it. And most of the women that I know, they're not risk takers in a high way that they feel comfortable to go after large deals. So then in the spring and the summer, I just started going really hard and connecting with women, getting in women's groups, saying you need to syndicate, you need to be confident going out and getting yourself on these teams, you need to lead teams. Like, you're made for this. So that's how it shifted. And last month I got approved for the private equity fund. So now just raising capital and just making other women aware of the possibilities. If they want it, they can just make a bet on themselves. So that's where we are.
I love that. I love the empowerment that you're giving. Let me ask you this then. So when did you really know, like, okay, I had this superpower, like, and how do you foster your superpower to keep it?
I knew it because other people started asking me for coaching support and asking me to join them on calls to help them with their capital raising calls. So I didn't really identify it in myself, but people were very scared. They said to ask strangers for money, but I said it's really about continuing education. If you underwrite a deal, like, that was my weakest point, which I would still say is my weakest point. So every week I practice underwriting because I know the better I am with the numbers, the easier it will be to sell the deal. And now, like, I'm hiring a capital raising coach, and it doesn't matter if I think that's my strong suite. I have to be able to 10x my output and be at the very top of my game.
Have you hired them already?
Interviewing now.
I got somebody to interview. Trust. I got somebody you can interview.
Okay.
That'd be great for you. Might be on this call. So yeah. Okay. So
That's continuing education, like anything, you know. If you're going and you're pushing hard to get to the top, everybody gonna be after you. So what can you do? You just got to learn more. You got to pioneer, explore different angles in the space, you know.
right.
So you want to catch me? We're gonna be going next level. Hey, I might be in other countries raising money, speaking other languages. Like, be ready to go there with me.
Right. I mean, what I love about your story and what you have said so far is that this is the base of the last 2 years that you really got started, and now you are advancing in syndication at rapid pace. Whereas, you know, you didn't really get the coaching or understanding, you just jump right into it. And, you know, you didn't have no doubts about it. No, nothing in your mindset says, oh my gosh, stop. Oh, you know, you move forward and look at the results you're getting. So I love that about that.
Yeah, I think that too many people I've seen, like, I always message and call people on my network every single day. I reach out to, I don't know, 7,500 people a day. And I always like to go back and ask people that I talked to 6 months ago to say, I'm interested in real estate investing. Where you are today in your journey, are you still doing it? A lot of people are like, no, oh, this, that, the other. And I think that's the thing. You can get a coach, you can buy a course, but if you don't actually take action, like when I buy a course, the reason why I'm fast forwarding it, I don't want to get caught in the details. I just want to see generally how the concept works. Then the second time when I'm doing the course, I'm doing the steps and executing on the steps the same time I'm watching the course, so I can put it like into action and kind of validate or try and experiment what I'm doing. And I don't care if it's messy. You know, I talked to some family office, which people are like, oh, it's really hard to get in contact with a family office. I was like, I'm gonna find a way to talk to somebody at the family office and see how hard it is. So I already got some people and like peed some people off because I didn't know what I was talking about. But you know, if you don't get out there and you don't get smacked around and knocked down, it's like you will not have confidence, you know, when you're actually presented in the future deals, and you won't know what you don't know until you actually go. So
Right.
I don't care. It's a lot of family offices. So if one's like, she's an idiot, well, okay, my bad. But then, like, I did message the guy back and said, oh, I did say something wrong, but I'm learning. And he's like, okay, respect. But, you know, I think you just have to get out there and try and get your reps in, get your nose bloody, you know, and then it'll make you more confident. And the more people that you talk to and the more experiences in different situations you put yourself in, the easier it is to make connectivity with the next person you speak to. So that's what I found. Like, I can go into the grocery store and a lady could be getting a soda out the soda machine, and then 2 minutes later, me and her talking about real estate. So
right.
yeah.
I think it's great you have a go-getter attitude. You know, I mean, your pursuit. Now, you did say something that kind of bogs my mind. You said 7,500 people a day. How many people you said a day, or how many?
75 to 100 people a day.
75 to 100 people. How can you time management to talk to or get in contact with so many people per day?
Because when I wake up, pray, meditate, self-care, tell my family I love them, talk to people, pray, meditate in my day. Capital raising is building relationships with people. I don't spend any time sourcing deals. I don't spend any time underwriting. All I'm doing all day, making new relationships, nurturing ones I've already made, and pitching. That's all I do all day. And I'm in a different situation than most because I don't have children. So I do have a lot of time, but literally I get up at 5 a.m., do my meditation, check in with my brother, 6:30 a.m., do my workout, start talking to people. And I'll talk to people until, I don't know, 11 p.m. all day, every day. And then I have a paper calendar. So I write how many people I talk to. So like yesterday I talked to 55 people. Today I talked to over 185 people. People that I wrote and said something back one way or the other. And then I mark them on there.
Wow. Okay.
All day, every day. I call them, text them, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever. Sometimes they send people to me. I think I did, I don't know, 125 I raised last week, 175, I think, soft commit this week.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I got I think maybe 3 more questions. I'm opening up for the audience to ask you a question. How do you stay resilient with so many phone calls, with so many conversations? You know, I know you got rejected at times from people. How do you stay resilient and above the fray?
Pray and meditate. It's in God's hands. It's like if God gave me the download, He gonna handle it. And I just go on my face. I don't take things personally. If I don't have a connection with a person or they don't have one with me, like what one of my friends taught me, and he's a male, he said, never put anyone on a pedestal, you know, either you're aligned or you're not. Don't be desperate. Don't chase people. I just go to people and say, how can I serve or help you today? How can I support you? If it's nothing I can support you with, tell me something good. That's what I always say to them. And I just get a very high response rate, and I have a high like no trust percentage of people in my network. And if people reach out to me, I give people the time that they need for whatever they need. Some people call me with mental health issues. Some want connections for business. Someone want to pick me up, a pick me upper. I just give the time to people because my business is about the care of people, and I'm inspired to see people who overcome things when they've been knocked down, people happy, making their dreams. So that's what motivates me to keep going. So it's not the person that is mad at me or yelling at me. It's the next person that said, I'm so glad I heard from you today because I was having a rough day. And so I just get on the line. I don't care. I just talk to anybody about anything, and they remember me. So I can be resilient from that alone. You know, if you have to take your ego out of it, if you get knocked down and you're really discouraged, it's kind of like you put yourself first. That's what I think. You just put yourself first, and it's okay. You can't be everybody's friend, and you can't help everybody. Just like not everybody can help you.
See now I know why I can't get on the calendar now. See, now I can't.
What?
Now I can't get on the calendar because he's talking to everybody else.
I see you trash talking with your friends here. Wait till your friends get off the line, Aaron.
No, we want to talk. Yeah, we want to talk. Okay, so you work with athletes too, right?
I do.
Okay. So how's your experience with that?
NFL, NBA, and Globetrotters.
Okay. So how has that experience and how has that developed for you with that, with working with athletes?
They stubborn, and they're stubborn. Yeah, they all want to do those. Not they all, but most of them like those, like a restaurant or vanity project. So it's about a huge mindset shift with them. Baby steps for them, and I'll tell them, if how many business ideas have you had the last 5 years, pursued or not pursued? If they tell me a lot, you're not ready to invest, because you might have to put your money in a deal for 5 years and you can't want it back. And I don't want you to be mad at me when you can't get it back or you're penalized. So right now it's a learning curve for them and education. And then we also have the kind of the challenge with their financial advisors, because the financial advisor is benefiting from them leaving money in the account. So they don't want them to invest it. So it's about helping them understand how the deals work, how to read underwriting and understand it's a good deal, and get them out of opportunistic mind frame. So it's not like, oh, my buddy bought this deal and he said I can make blah, 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 blah. No, you do not invest in a deal with a high percentage of how much money you can make. You invest in a deal with a high percentage of how much of it can you get back. So you're looking for a low risk. So getting them away from the emotion and recognizing the numbers are the numbers.
Right.
So yeah,
Right.
and I've invited agent into my network really recently. That he's an agent for NBA and NFL players, and he is he calls himself a financial navigator. So he's helping me bridge the gap, because he has all his series certifications, and he comes from this background. He has a legal background as well. So he's helping me get them up to speed. So right now it's a lot of education, and I do want to start putting them in some deals, but yeah, I gotta coach them to that level first. But they do trust me a lot, so they understand it. Even if they want to give money, I say no. We go wait and make sure it's not today. It's that you really are okay and comfortable with risking this capital, and you're not going to be asking me every month when you're getting your money back or when you're going to see your check.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, but they text me all the time and send me pictures of their kids or whatever. So yeah, that's it. That's where we're at.
So 2 more questions for you. Where you want to see yourself in 5 years?
On a boat offshore. I'm not going for a certain dollar amount. I'm going for legacy projects. But no, what I want to do for my impact project is I want to invest and help develop affordable housing for low-income seniors. I'm assisted living for low-income seniors, because I see so many very, very nice assisted living centers popping up all the place, but there are, people that don't have the money to stay in places like that, but they need and deserve to be cared for with top quality support as well. So I like to start a nonprofit real estate company where some of my for-profit proceeds go there and help provide housing for them. So
Real cool. Okay. And then last question, officially to you. What would you say to somebody who's starting off into real estate? What is your advice to them?
In what sector of real estate? Doesn't matter.
Let's just say, they can start syndication. Let's just say they start syndication. They just brand new. They just excited about getting into it.
Okay. Well, one, I would say There are many ways to enter real estate, whether a realtor, fix and flip, wholesaling, syndication, whatever. But don't believe the stories about it's only one path, that you have to become a realtor, sell XYZ amount, then go to being a broker, then getting your own properties and building your portfolio. And then once you get to a certain amount, you can go after bigger stuff. So don't think that that's the only path. If you want to go straight into multifamily and purchase apartment buildings and doing syndication, you can. And syndication, for those of you who don't know what it is, it's like crowdfunding. It's a small team that's going in together to purchase a larger asset, such as an apartment building for $15 million, a mobile home park, a storage facility, a shopping center. So you vet your operators and make sure someone who has experience, learn underwriting, get yourself a coach, and just get out there and make it happen.
Cool.
And they can contact me as well. I'm still green, but I will happily put you in contact with syndication groups and veteran syndicators if you need support.
Well, guess what, Shonika? We all green.
Yeah.
We all green. So remember that. So
okay.
So I saw Mr. International raise his hand beforehand. So you got a question for Shonika, Mr. International?
Shonika, thank you for the presentation. Thank you for sharing your story with us. So you talked about calling people like 75 to 100 people a day.
100 people a day.
Right. Now, do you have them lined up already for the day before? So do you just call off the top of your head? How do you do that?
Yeah, not off the top of my head. I go into my Facebook, my LinkedIn, my Twitter, and I just read posts of people who are inspiring and just get in their inbox. And like, hey, I want to talk to you. I love what you have to say. I love what you're about. And then get a conversation started. That's how I do.
So you're not doing something that you're just doing something just every day. Just how do you track who you call then?
Pipe drive.
Okay.
CRM. So you can put it in there and you can put the touches. If they're a large influencer, I'm going to engage with them first. So I'm going to comment and provide value to their readers, share their posts. I'm not going to ask for something, without giving something first. But yeah, I just go in, hey, what are you about? What kind of support can I give you, if any? This is what I'm about. So I moderate. It's a group called My First Million in Multifamily, and they have something called the Deal Room, which is their active and most successful syndicators and operators. So I've been in that group for 13 months. And in the 6th month, I was named the moderator. So I moderate that group. And then I'm now leading a women's chapter it's called the Real Estate Investor.
Right.
So now I'm leading that meetup group. And that's for women who are getting started in real estate investing. So it's interesting because both of those groups are on opposite ends of the spectrum. Yeah.
The Invesco one, that's the one with Elizabeth Fairclough, right?
Yes.
Okay. I know when you said, because I know there's so many groups out here and things going on. Okay.
Yeah. So they had 19,000, almost 20,000 members nationwide, and they're in 56 cities between the US and Canada. But in Colorado, the Denver chapter is the only chapter we have in the state. And I think it's because our major cities are kind of close together. So we have Fort Collins, Boulder, and Colorado Springs. They're all in the same corridor. So women will travel from outside of the area to come to that meetup. But in the metro, all of those metro areas, we have about a little over 3 million people. So we don't have the density here, because in the whole state of Colorado, we have a little over 5 million people population. So yeah, I run that chapter.
Nice. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
So Shonika, there's a gentleman on here who is very informative about capital raising, and
Okay.
I think that he can give you some great advice on your next steps of capital raising. So the gentleman want to say anything, the floor is his.
Okay.
Are you talking about Lawrence or are you talking about me?
You talking about the guy
Talking
with
about
the
you. He's talking about you. You know who you are.
guy with the glasses.
Well, Shonika, thank you very much for your presentation. There's a lot of stuff that you're doing really, really well. And some of the things that I see that is having the discipline to talk to so many people every day. I mean, that's hard to teach, and it's hard to get people to do that. Like I've been trying to, I would have been forcing people to try to do that for a good 20 years. And then like staff, everything, it's just nuts. And the fact that you're doing it and yourself doing it, it's amazing. So big kudos to you. I think that alone is going to have this huge benefit for your success. A question, I do have a question for you, and this will probably help me understand your mindset a bit. Let me ask you, what has been one of, if not the most impactful business book that you've read that has really impacted what you've been doing?
Well, let me tell you a funny thing about these books. Up until about 2 years ago, I would never read a book published after the death of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And the reason why is because every time I start reading a book, I'm like a book nerd. So I read so many books. Every time I start reading a book, I'm just like, oh, this is an updated version of this book. This is an updated version of this book. So like, there's really nothing new to be said. And like, even when I read the book Think and Grow Rich, I'm like, oh, this is a knockoff of the Bible. That's what I said. Like when I read that book, all these quotes in here, this comes from scripture. So if I say any book, it would be probably the Bible. But if I said a modern day book, I like the book, interesting enough. It's called Why They Buy by Sherry Tree. It's a book on the psychology, and it basically says there are 4 demographics of people, and they each have like a factor that's a trigger for them. So there's some that's like the emotional buyer, some that's logistics, some that's risk, some that's risk averse. And you try and identify within the first minute, what is that kind of personality profile? And so, if they're risk averse, you're going to give them very conservative, very direct, simple terms, etc. If they're emotion, you're going to be like 10x your personality when you're talking to them. So I really like books around mindset, connectivity with people. And I think because my birth sign is Gemini, the communicator. So I'm just like, how can I go to this rural town and see this man at this gas station, somebody I might not normally talk to every day? How can I go and in less than a minute make a connection with this man? So I like this kind of book. Yeah, these kinds of books. Not so
That's
much
excellent.
on like marketing per se or systems. I think that is too variable. And so, connecting with people, you can't really teach, kind of like creativity. Creativity just comes from solving a problem. So you can't read a book and say, how do I become more creative, or how do I get more ideas? It's going into working with a person and just deep probing. And when somebody starts yelling at me and cussing, I'm just like, I need to get in there and see why they're cussing at me. I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I just like, why is he so mad at me? And then I kind of just use humor to like calm the person down and like, what is going on with you? Like, it's not the time, it's not the time, but I still think we can work this out. And then I just get away from selling and tell them like, I really want to help them, you know, or support them or get them whatever they need to get in a better place. So then they usually will start opening up to me. So yeah.
Excellent. No, those are some very hard, you're absolutely right. Those are some very hard skills to teach. And I think that in the industry, we call those soft skills.
Yeah.
Soft skills is very creative. And then being able to understand people's emotions. So having very high emotional intelligence, being able to understand people's emotion, and then be able to cut the tension, whether it's using humor or something, but to be able to recognize that emotion, those are all very, very hard skills to teach. So I think that, yeah, I would agree that the chances are that's a big reason why you're successful, or you're even going to be more successful in the future. So that's that's incredible.
Yeah, I consider myself
I have another question.
An empathetic seller is what I would say.
Yeah, and that's really hard to teach. So that's one of the things I do teach, is that the core of really good investor relations and really good capital raising is a person that's empathetic, and a person that is genuinely empathetic, that actually cares about people. Because I explained to some people that are in the industry, it's like, hey, I want to, I want to become a capital raiser. Well, why do you want to do it? Because I want to make a lot of money. I'm like, okay, do you actually like people? And it's like, no, I hate people. I just want to make money off of them. It's like, then chances are you're going to find a limit to how successful you're going to become. But if you're genuinely empathetic and you genuinely care about other people and you enjoy other people and you really have a passion for making other people's lives better than where they are right now, then you'll do much, much better. And I sense that, and I get that from you. And I think that that's a big part of a major building block for future success. So you're doing really, really well. I do have another question for you.
Mm-hmm.
So my next question is this, is that out of all the skills that you have or things that you could improve, what is the one skill that you wish that you could really build upon or improve on right now?
Closing. I'm not good with closing. I ask for the business, but I don't press it. And then my fallback is I get my brother to come in and close the deal for me.
And is your brother like twice the size of you and a former football player or something?
No, he's so logistic and systematic. He Pomodoros his life. We'll just say that. So he had everything time block from the start time he starts to the time he ends, and then time blocks within the time block. And he has amazing scalability, discipline. Like when he and I are in a call, we don't really do our discovery calls that much together, because I'm just like, man, why does he keep getting to the point? He is not asking the person a personal question. Like, I'm asking them the first question. I'm not talking about business. I'm talking about family, occupation, lifestyle, kind of what inspires and motivates you. I need to know my touch points, because at the end of the day, the person is not buying the deal, they're buying you. So we got to have connectivity. So if they ask me a question, I'm going to ask them another question. It's probably not even going to be related to what they just asked me. I'm just going to be like, they're like, so what are my returns? So what are your plans for this weekend? Like, why are you even interested in real estate investing? Does it even really care what the returns are if I don't like you and you don't like me, and I'll just say something funny like that? And okay. Then we just pivot back to that. But then when it gets to the point where I have to close, for some reason, I just can't wrap it up. It's like, I'll ask them for the business. Oh, let me think about it. And my brother's just like, we need to send them the soft commit link. I need them to fill that out, you know? And he kind of just pressure, and are you going to do it or not do it? And where I just kind of coddle them a little bit, I'll say. So that's really where I struggle. But
so what is your
to go anywhere and start a conversation with anybody. I don't even care if they speak another language and don't speak English. I'm gonna figure out how to get my message across to them. So that part I can do. I can get them in the door, and I can get high percentage of even very high profile people to respond to me. But then I can't get them all the way through the funnel. I get stuck around that point.
So what does your close sound like? What does it look like? Like when you're getting ready to close, what is your ask? How do you do it?
You want to put money into my deal? And that's how I ask. My brother says he feels that because I'm so laid back, I don't have the intensity. So people are just like, well, I get to it when I get to. Yeah, I probably close I'll probably invest in your deal, but they don't say definitively, I'm going to do it today. So that's where I struggle with. And also, my spouse says it's the monotone of my voice. He says you need to fluctuate when you speak and change the emotion. So if I'm just like this, people are just, they're listening and they're engaging and they're laughing, but they're not like, oh, she's serious right now. So they don't feel the urgency, and I don't feel the urgency. And I'm kind of like, take it or leave it. If they don't do it, I'm just like, okay, whatever, on to the next person. But I could probably get a lot higher conversions if I pushed it a little bit more. And that's why I need a coach for that part. So like, get on the call with me and say no. Like, I know not to spend 5 minutes selling something and 10 minutes buying it back. I know that part. So I know like when to stop and when to listen, but I don't know how to say, I need you to sign it now, without sounding like that. So.
Okay. No, you've got some really good people around you that talk about things like, because it's a bit more than your moderation of your voice. It's also the cadence, right? So it's taking pauses and then like adding in pauses for emphasis, but then also like how you say it and how fast you say things and how slow you say things, right? Those will start to give somebody an indication of what's going on. So for instance, if I was in a very active capital raise, it's like, hey, Shonika, I just wanted to give you a quick call right now. We got a really great deal. I'm trying to go through my entire list right now. It's a 6% cash on cash with a 14% IIR. It's a 5-year hold. Okay, so it's a 5-year hold. It's a place in Dallas, Texas. This place is coming in. We're getting in money on money right now. It's like we're doing a $10 million raise. We're probably $5 million into it already. I'm curious, is this something that you'd be interested in? Because we're closing in 3 weeks. All right, that's intentionally at that cadence because it suggests that we're on a tight timeline, right? But for some other clients, I might not say it that fast, right? Or because if we're doing some other things like, hey, I just wanted to update you on the deal in Dallas. There's a couple of things that have come up, and I just wanted to make sure there's some material changes that I want to make sure that you're aware of. So if you notice, I put pauses.
That's how I am on every single call, like you just said.
Yeah, so you've got to change this. So it just changes. You got to adjust on certain things. Okay. So biggest thing, I'm going to give it away for you for free. Okay. As a coach.
Everything costs
tips on closing.
Okay. Everything costs
tips. All right.
Yeah.
Tips on closing. This is what I usually charge people for. Okay. When you're doing your closing, it is incredibly important that you do all the other stuff on the beginning, which is you're very empathetic and you know all their pain points. You have to use that in your closing. The way you use it in your closing is you understand this concept and this quote: logic will get people to think, emotion will get people to act. When you're asking for a check, you need people to act. Okay, so say this is like a family office, patriarch is a grandfather, and you start talking to him and you empathize with him, you understand what his pain points are. His pain points is that he's afraid that his grandkids are going to waste all the money when he's gone. They don't understand how hard it was to make the money. They're just going to inherit it. They're going to buy a Ferrari when the year he dies, his grandkids are going to, or his kids or his grandkids are going to buy a Ferrari, wrap it around a telephone pole. There goes his entire legacy. That's what he's worried about. And you figured that out just because you get to know him. When you close, you don't close with, hey, are you interested in getting my deal? What you do is you do all the pitch, and you go, you know what, Mr. Jones, what I want to make sure that you understand what we're talking about here. What you're basically looking at is if you would put money into this deal and I send you passive cash flow, your grandkids will inherit passive cash flow, not the lump sum. Try to buy a Ferrari with that because all they're doing is getting income for life. And if you want your legacy to survive, I'm telling you, this is the way to do it.
Okay.
All right. That's emotional based closing, because what you're trying to do is explain what they're looking at. This is all the technical points and it's very boring. It's very academic. But what does that actually mean for you? What it means for you is, remember all those pains that you told me at the opening during our small talk? I will fix half of those pains just if you write me a check. Right. And if you want to increase the velocity of your closing, you have to increase that value and that connection. So if they're humming and hawing and they don't answer and they don't call you back for 6 months or 3 weeks to 6 months, you haven't shown them enough. You haven't made that connection enough. But if they told you, these are all my pains, these are all my worries. If you have like a 60-year-old, 70-year-old lady that says, I'm worried I'm going to run out of money because, you know, and here, and my husband's gone, I'm a widow, and I don't know anything about finance. I'm so worried about it. When you ask her at the end, well, here's all these confusing things, and she's turned upside down and sideways, and you've basically spun her around. It's like, now do you want to give me a check? Well, she doesn't know. What you can do is, if you know that's what her pain points are, you come down to is, Mrs. Jones, let me tell you this. I know all this stuff is probably very confusing, but let me tell you this. When it comes to passive cash flow, you never touch the principal. All you do is, I will send you cash for life. And if you do that and invest in this deal, I promise you, you'll never run out of money. In fact, your kids will never run out of money. That's legacy planning.
Okay.
So when you make that connection, it's like, you know what? That's all emotion. That's exactly what my pains are. If I write you a check, half my pains are gone. And they already told you, or you have an ability to do that in discovery, or you've been able to do that at the very beginning, which it sounds like you're very good at. Use that in your close.
Okay. Yeah. At the beginning, people be telling me their whole life story. They tell me about all their pain points, telling me a lot of personal information on the very first discovery call. Like, I don't know, I never tell people about this stuff, but they just feel comfortable with me.
That is a huge benefit for you. You're the type of personality that people want to open up to you. So how I run my meetings is I let them talk as long as they want to talk. If you want to tell me because all those data points will help me understand, is this actually going to help you? Or how is this going to help you? And can I show you how it's going to help you? Then when I do my pitch, I'm on autopilot because you've done it so many times. You can do it forwards and backwards. You can do it in your sleep. And what you're doing is that you're watching their body language, and I'm trying to pick and choose what are these pain points that are going to meet up and make the most effectiveness when I bring that up during my close. It's like, Mrs. Jones, let me tell you, this point that you talked about here, your kid or your son or your grandkid or your husband, whatever that pain point was, this is how this can solve that and fix that problem.
Okay. Pretty dope.
All right.
Thank you.
So give that a try.
All right, I will.
So Shonika,
Yes, sir.
there is a opportunity to have a coaching call with Mr. Edmond too. So I would apply you,
and we're gonna get on it.
Good. I will apply you to have one. You will blow your mind for an hour. I'm telling you.
All right.
So yeah.
I already blew my mind in this short little window here.
Good. Happy the connection. I know Tiffany said that she's putting her son to bed. So Lawrence, you have any more a question for her before we let's see. Our Angel coming on here. You have a question, another question for any like that?
Question to answer, you know what? That to me, when she said about making connections with people, like when you said family occupation, that's what I'm about. The Ford, family occupation, recreation, dreams. Because this is a people business. And like you just said about the people are not interested in how many units you got. They're interested in the deal. They're interested in you, and that talking to people is what I enjoy. You said because that's why I asked the question about how do you keep up, because I don't have a CRM and I'm getting HubSpot, and I need to do that because I started last week, 2 weeks ago, calling people and writing down when I call them, right? I like what Evan said also. I have no questions. I'm sucking this in. That's all. I'm sopping it up.
Like biscuits and molasses.
What am I gonna say? I'm listening, right? I like that, and thank you, Evan, for that. Because I wrote that down. Emotions, because me and Aaron was talking about that. Emotional thinking will get you messed up. Because that's what you talked about with the athletes. But emotional listening to people, empathize and listen to them, will get their pain points also. Right? Will get them to where their pain points are, and therefore that's what you can build on that. So.
Right, absolutely.
Thank you, Edmund. Thank you, Shonika.
Shonika.
I almost said Shalon. That's my daughter's name.
Hey. Speaking of that,
My mother didn't tell me about Lawrence.
Hello. Hey, here we go. Angel Williams is in the building now. She got her halo on.
But she knows better, Aaron.
Conference. She knows better. Conference. I couldn't make it, but she had a successful conference. I was told. I wish I was in Chicago.
I told Cinto, I'm like, tell him he has free entry.
I was at the conference. I was at a conference during that time frame.
Cinto had your back. Cinto had your back, and I'm like,
Who's Cinto? Who's that?
Cinto Matthew, the one that won't ever show his face anywhere. So it's not
that guy.
over his shit.
That guy. Oh, that's who that is? Oh, okay.
Yeah. We don't actually know that he exists.
Well, I can tell you.
He exists to all the people that have seen him.
I can tell you.
He exists.
Me and Aaron know he is just. I actually had to touch him. I touched his head. I said, "Is this really you?"
like you touched him like he's a actual human being.
Yeah,
He's an actual human being.
I had to make sure. Because people nowadays AI, you just never know what's happening out here.
But I tell you, when he knew that I was going through all the stuff I was going through with Jason and Julianne at Philmont, he and I got on the phone. He's like, Angel, why are we chatting? So let's hop on the phone. And so he listened to me. He let me vent because I was having a rough time. But I tell you, it's I guess Andrew Rosenberg has it right. He's like, you're a bigger badass than you believe you are. Because like this time, Jason's gone to Houston. We got a freaking slab leak number 2. And I'm dealing with this, and I'm just like, just fix it.
Hey, so I would say this too, and I'm not trying to belittle you at all, but I would say, okay, 2 things. Number 1 is a hurricane, and man, that's my daughter was 100 miles north of it. I was like, man, it's crazy. They had like a little debris. I don't know if you guys know Lawrence, but you know the announcer for the Knicks, Mike Breen.
Mm-hmm.
He went on vacation to California, him and his family. On the way back to the airport, he got a phone call saying, "Hey, we had a massive fire. His whole house was burned down."
Where
In New York. Yeah,
really?
New York. His whole house, all his memories of his house burned down. It's a big house too. I just saw pictures of it. So I mean, we all, but man, hey, I understand, Angel. Yeah, it sucks.
Well, but I mean, like it's. I think that's kind of the realization I'm coming to too. Is everybody's got hard shit.
Yeah.
We've all got bad things going on. And I mean, I've always known that. And I'm really coming to the point where I'm like, you know what? Your heart is the same as my heart. And my heart is the same as somebody else's heart. The heart feels the same, regardless of how it looks in somebody else's eyes.
Right, absolutely. And I mean, you should be upset about a pipe and stuff like that. I'm not trying to belittle it at all.
So it wasn't $11,000 because I found the starting space. It was only $1,100.
Hey, there you go.
So I went back out in the garage and I'm like, you know what? I know what a slab leak sounds like. So I'm out there and I'm listening. And I'm like, why don't I hear this? But I found the wet drywall behind the water heater. And so they were able to start there. And by starting there, they could see that the slab leak was about 3 foot to the left behind the kitchen sink.
Yeah. Well, that's good on you, man. Because I mean, that's a lot of money that you saved right there.
Well, that's 2 times. The first slab leak, I could hear it. And I said, no, it's in my bathroom. And the guy was like, no, that manifold could be anywhere, blah, blah. I'm like, no, dude, I hear it in my bathroom. And Jason came home and we found it on one of the walls of his closet. We found the leak. Jason pulled the drywall away and he said, there's the leak right there. So because we found the leak, it was a $500 fix as opposed to a $12,000 to $14,000 slab leak fix.
Well, hey,
you say slab leak.
Under the concrete.
Okay.
So we don't have pier and beam here.
Well,
there's probably some pier and beam, but the majority of houses here, especially if they were built after the tornado came through in 1979, were built on slab. So you've got 8 inches of concrete with pipe coming in underneath. And as we go through droughts, everything shifts underneath. So we wind up with lots of slab leaks.
Well, I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna end the meetup. We don't mean we had to go, but I'm gonna end the meetup. I just want to say that one bigger takeaway that I got from the 120 conference I was in Chicago is take extreme ownership of your life. Too many times people don't take responsibility or always blame somebody else, but this is your life. Take extreme ownership of your life, even though you might have a great gripe, and I think we always do. But we all have trauma in our lives, and you gotta work on that trauma, because you don't want to be an anchor in your life. Take extreme ownership of your life and move forward. And if you need help, ask for help. You ask for help. So I just want to tell Shonika, thank you so much for sharing your story. I love how you had that hunger, you're resilient, that go-getter attitude, just doing this for basically 2 years, and look where you have gone so far. You have, and I know that, and you're receptive to coaching too. Just like we got Edmund today, you're receptive to coaching. I think that's going to take you a long way as well. So I'm going to be on this. I'll be cheering you on throughout. So, eventually I'll get on a phone call with you, one day, maybe you might call me, but we'll see about that.
Always green, Aaron. Always green.
All right, guys. Well, look, we'll see you next week. Johnny Lim will be our guest speaker next week. So check us out, and God bless you and take care. Thank you.
Thank you all. Nice meeting everyone. Bye-bye.